All right. Hi, everybody. You are with Keeping It Real with Ann Keither, Terri Ann Russell, and our special guest, Jeremy McDonald. Hello.
Hi.
All right.
Well, thanks, Terri Ann and Ann for having me on the show. Well, you can say Terri Ann and Ann like really fast 3 times, and I'd probably mess that up. So, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? How are you?
Wonderful. It's beautiful here in Florida. As you can see, I have waterfalls behind me. Yeah, and definitely not the palm tree weather we normally have here, but yeah, it's beautiful in Florida.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So Jeremy is a speaker and a storytelling alchemist. I love that. I believe truly that you connect with people through your stories. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's funny. I've been doing the work for a long, long time. I've been in this, I guess, the healing work, intuitive work, since probably about 1996. I was 22 years old. And so I can just tell you that I'm getting a little older. And so but a few years ago, I put a conference on a cruise ship, and one of the ladies there was really good at marketing and was my personal assistant for a couple of years. And she came up, she goes, "We need to come up with a brand for you." And I was like, mine was just like, Jeremy McDonald, this is who I am. You know, I'm not really good at that kind of stuff. And so she asked me what I did, and I said, well, I work on people's inner story. And when you change the inner story, we all know how this works. Then you alchemize the inner world. And then guess what? Your life goes into flow. You start listening to your higher self. You start going to flow with your higher self and your soul. And, things just really start happening for you. And so she says, "You're the storytelling alchemist." And so I was like, all right, that works. Now, sometimes people just think I'm a storyteller, which I do love. As Terri Ann found out at the restaurant a couple of weeks ago, I do love telling stories. But not the stories that, when we were kids, and I don't know if you guys remember, and your mom would say, "You're telling stories." Not those kind of stories. It's maybe, because sometimes we lie to ourselves, right? And we're not living our authentic self. And when we do that, when we start changing that, life just gets easier. So that's how it started.
I like the storytelling because I think I connect more with a person when they're doing more of the storytelling. They're telling, their story of how it became. And like I just said before we came on here tonight, I downloaded your book, Peace Be Still, and I absolutely loved it. And I have to tell everybody from the beginning. Okay, do you know that movie with Tom Cruise? And I can't remember the girl's name, but I think it's Show Me the Money or whatever, when that saying, "You got me at hello" or whatever. Do you remember
Jerry Maguire.
Yes, that's it. Okay, so I got to read this to everybody. So when I downloaded your book, it's on the introduction page, and you had me at the hello or whatever. What was it? Oh my gosh, hold on. Oh, I know, I wrote it down because it was on the first page, and it was just like amazing, and I totally lost it. Oh, that sucks.
It'll come back at the right and perfect time.
It'll come back.
You know what? It will. Yes, it will, because it was just so profound. Even the thing that you wrote about in one of the quotes, "I would not have been who I am today if I had not yesterday happened." Do you remember that from the book? That's a very powerful quote. That's a very powerful quote.
Funny part about that first chapter, even in the introduction, is that I wanted to do exactly what you said. I wanted to just be real with everybody. And I didn't want to be one of those people standing on a stage talking about things that I'd read. I really wanted to teach what I had learned and through my own experience. And so in the very first chapter, I talk about that I had a drug addiction, and not to marijuana, to crystal meth. And so that makes people go, whoa. And I'm like, but addiction is just avoidance. And what are we avoiding? We're avoiding our authentic self. And I just remember that, and I wanted to be real about that, because I was starting to think of my story was, I wanted to do all these great things, but every time I would sit down and do great things, my own insecurities would start taking over, and then I would give up, and then I would escape into something that wasn't real. And so I would come out and I would think, oh, I'm just having fun. Da, 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 da. You guys know this story. And so, but then I really started looking at myself. And one day I was a vice president of a company, and I looked in the mirror and I said, I really don't like myself. And so I'd been studying metaphysics and spirituality at that point for probably about 10 years. So this is like 2006. Interestingly enough, the universe made sure that if I didn't like myself or like my life that I had created, I lost my job, my car was repossessed, I lost my home, I lost my relationship, all my stuff was stolen from me, including my grandmother's engagement ring that I planned on giving to somebody that I was going to marry. 7 different instruments. I had a violin that was 200 years old, and just all this stuff, material stuff, right?
Right.
So I didn't like my life. So it was I shedded it away. And so then I had a very raw person that was very depressed and very upset. And so that's that first chapter, is I really just wanted to express to people that, hey, I get it. We're all there. We all have these areas where we're majorly depressed. We've all been through that. We've all had things we've had to struggle through. And hey, guess what? We can change it. And so it doesn't
it's similar, isn't it? The stages of healing are similar to the stages of grief, I found.
Yes.
And so you go up and down and you go back and forth, and you can be in a couple at a time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you go into denial. And then I wrote the book and then went on tour with it. Now, wow, 10 years ago. So that book's been around a little while. My second book's coming out at the end of this year. But like I said, I like to live my book and before I write it. So it's I went into that, and I had peace in my life, but then my mother had passed away in 2012. So I went on my tour with that book right after she passed away. So I didn't even have a chance to grieve. And so basically, I remember I started writing a book about a mother and a son and his mother in spirit. And because she was talking to me, and I couldn't finish writing the book, I'd start to feel, I was like, I don't want to talk about this, Mom. And so, funny enough, now my book is about the first chapter. The introduction is a conversation between me and my friend Pearl, where she looks at me and she says, I said, well, there's something different in me that's changed, and I don't understand. Everything is just happening. She said, well, what do you think's changed in you? I said, well, I was arrogant and I thought I knew everything. And so and even though I on the surface didn't say that, deep inside you have to go deep within to look at all that pain. And so, well, I missed my mother and I felt lost, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how old you are. There's a little boy or a little girl when your parent leaves, and you're inside of yourself and they're screaming, where's mommy? They've left me. Or where's daddy? They've left me. And you feel alone. And so I started peeling back that, and she said, I'm still here. So, yeah,
right. And I believe that they're here more now than they were when they were in the physical world. I have a dad who's passed on, and I truly feel that he's around me more now, his energy and stuff, than when he was here in the physical at a time. So I'm lucky that I can have that. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't have that, right? But I'm lucky that I do feel that, and I sense that. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about, your book and about you and what you're doing through reading and just being, your book and just reading more about you, is that the whole thing is what you're teaching people is so, if everybody can just do it, is to go within. That it all starts within, and we're so used to going and looking out and asking people's advice and getting therapy from other people, which is all good, because I do believe we all need our vibe, right? And we still need our teachers, and we still need everybody to pick us up, but we have to go within ourselves to find the true answers, the healings, in order for us to grow. And you're doing that, and that's what I absolutely love. And you're sharing that with people, and it's teaching them how to do that.
Yeah.
So do you give classes on how to?
I do actually.
You do?
Get ready to do I get ready to do a class at Casadega, which is the psychic town here in if anybody has ever heard of Lilydale. It's the Lilydale sister church in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm doing another one. I'm doing a retreat in Belize in October.
Oh, wow.
So it's there's definitely classes out there, and I'm planning at the beginning of the year when the book comes out to start going to spiritual centers and unity churches and spiritualist churches around the country. So, and the most amazing thing is I had asked for a travel show. I'm like, it'd be a lot of fun to do a travel show and just set that intention out there. So where I do my show, where I do my actual show, my podcast, they asked me if I'd like to start a travel show. And I was like, why, yes, I would. I would love to start a travel show.
And I would love to see something like that. You know how many people would need that? That is awesome. Yeah.
And that's the thing, what I want to share with everybody. Once you guys start doing that inner work and having that inner relationship, play with the universe. And I did this thing where I was shopping for my friend Virginia Drake, who's you'll read about in the book. As I was shopping for her 70th birthday last year, and I'm just walking through Dollar Tree and Five Below, and I keep on seeing these cute little things, and then everything just came together. And I love these birthday. I don't like going out and buying like this super expensive birthday present unless I'm called to do it. But I really just love this, like finding things that make people smile. And so I'll give like these packages, and it was just, that's playing with the universe. And I'll just say to the spirit, I'll say, show me where to go. And we'll just start tinkering around and having fun. And honestly, if you have fun with the universe, even down to the whole Silva find a parking spot thing, and just let it go. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. And you never stop being awed at this.
Yeah. I think so many people are amazed when they just do that. Like, oh, I'm going to find his parking spot. And then they do. And they're like, oh my God, that really worked.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and you know what? I just did a women's retreat, Terri Ann knows, in Sedona last week, a women's retreat. And it was really funny because, sometimes I feel very, not authentic when I'm on Instagram, right? Because they're saying, do the reels, do the funny. And I'm like, but that's just not me. It's not who I am. And to tell you the truth, I don't even want to have my website anymore. I just don't, there's something in me that's this battle. Why do a website? And, so I was like, forget about it. I'm not going to do it. Right. Nobody's going to, but how is people going to find me? So I shut down my website, and I'm not joking. I am not joking. In the last 2 days, I have had 7 people reach out to me. I don't even know where they came from, but they heard it from a friend of a friend. And I'm like, seriously, spirit, I just absolutely love you. I love you, because I was battling it, right? Like, no, I need it. But the universe was saying, if I would have just listened what I say from the beginning to my inner self, then it wouldn't have the battle, and it would have just flowed the way it should have flowed.
Surrender. It's hard.
Yeah.
I think surrender is one of probably the most difficult parts of the healing path. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And one day, and you might get a poll, or somebody said, Ann, I just want to build a website for you. Can I build a website for you? Why, sure.
I would say why, sure, because it is so hard. I'm like, take it.
So that happens. Well, my friend Virginia, I built hers many years ago. Don't tell anybody I'm a web designer, because I only do it for myself. I went to school for it, and I hate it. But she came. I wanted to do something for her because she had been helping me a lot, and so I built her just a very basic website. Well, a few years later, she was like, I don't want it anymore. She goes, I don't need it. So she puts her hands on her calendar, and she says, God, I'm ready to start working for you. And then she says, I've handed out 10,000 cards in my 20 some odd years of doing this. People have those cards in their hand. And so there's a vibration and a frequency on them. So what are they going to do? They're going to be, I think I probably need to call Jenny. And and that's what happens. And it happens all the time. I mean, I've had where I've left my corporate jobs, and I go, people are like, oh, how are you going to support yourself? I'm like, it'll work itself out. I made more money in the not having a corporate job than I did having one.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where we have to really just allow, but it has to be when your soul says or what spirit says. And if you try to act on it because out of fear, like some people like, I want to leave this job, I hate this place,
Right.
you're probably not going to work. And so, but if you put out there, tell me where I need to go and show me where my soul needs to go. And I always say, you know, I'm not so smart, so you're gonna have to knock me upside the head with it. And you have to have fun with this. And so, and spirit doesn't sit there and go, don't call yourself dumb. It laughs, it chuckles, it has a sense of humor. It's human beings that do that.
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody came to you and said, okay, so how do I surrender? How do I find that bliss in the world? What would you say? Like, what would that advice be to them if they said they're looking for that bliss? What is their first action, their first step that they should take?
Well, I would ask them first, well, where are you at right now? Like, I'll give you an example. You're in Arkansas and you had 2 flat tires. Like, where are you at emotionally right now? And the reason why I would ask that is because I'll give you a story. Many years ago, I was sitting on my couch and I had been doing really well in this industry. And I had money coming in and, you know, I'd been flying all over speaking and stuff like that, which is one of my biggest things I love doing. I love traveling. Well, then it all stopped. And I made like $100 one month. And I was like, wow, how am I gonna, and my energy started to panic. And so, instead of me sitting down and saying, it's time, what do you need me to do? I went into a panic. Well, so then I finally, after the panic went on for a few weeks, I go, I don't know what to do. What am I gonna do? Nobody's calling me and this is weird. And so I said, what do you want me to do next? And I heard, get a job. I'm like, how are you going to tell me to get a job? And you said I have to do all this work. And why? What was it about? It was about no matter what you're asked to do, you'll do it. And so you'll act on it. Well, what ended up happening is I got a job for 3.5 years where I barely did anything. And I wrote my first book and got paid to do it. And so I ended up healing and doing a lot of study. And I sat there in meditation, learning how to do an open-eyed meditation because it was in an office and you can't exactly close your eyes in an office. So what people will say, well, that I would have rather had it sitting in an ashram somewhere. Well, I would have too, but that's not the reality. I still needed to pay for my bills. And so these are things that we have to look at. And that's why they say, be grateful for what we have. So anyway, so the reason why that was necessary, so be still or let go and stuff like that. The lesson is when you let go, it's not always going to be what you want it to be. It'll be what you need.
Right.
And so then I let go and I needed to have that job because at that point in time, $100 a month wasn't going to cut it. No. And so I started having money come in. So then what happened? My energy started feeling safe and secure. And so then the frequency wasn't all over the place. So then I started working on myself and looking at myself. And then fast forward, 3.5 years later, I was on a book tour with this book. And I had been wanting to go on a 22-state tour and go, I just wanted to go on a tour and live out of a van. I wanted to get the gypsy part of me out of my
gypsy
system.
Brother.
And so, and I didn't have any idea where I was going to go. Well, I'd tried to book. I said, Spirit, you're going to take me wherever you need me to go, and I'll follow wherever you need to go. Well, of course, I'm a sales trainer, so I tried to be like that salesperson, book all these events. Well, I couldn't get one booked until June 23rd of 2012, which is my mother's birthday. So she had just transitioned 6 months prior, and I didn't get it until I was driving to Fort Lauderdale, and I was like, oh my goodness, are you kidding? And then what ended up happening is, while we were traveling, you guys know how this works, pictures started going on Facebook and videos started going on Facebook. People were like, can you come and teach a workshop if you come by Kentucky or if you come by this area? And then I spoke at the Navajo Reservation in Arizona because my friend Michelle decided she wanted to do a healers gathering. So this what ends up happening is you let go in a sense, but you have to have your energy in a place where you feel safe and secure.
Absolutely.
And so there is a human side of this stuff. So we have to be grounded. So if we're not grounded, we're not going to pay our electric bill. We're going to forget to pay our electric bill. We're like, it'll be taken care of, and so, and that's not how because Spirit, if you're really in tune, will say, hey, did you pay your phone bill? And did you pay the car payment? I'm like, oh crap, I better do that right now.
Right.
And so if you listen, and then it'll always provide you with the money.
Yeah.
And so
what do you think prevents people mostly from being in that space? Is it ego?
It is ego, because we doubt ourselves. We start looking down ourselves. One of my teachers that taught me tarot, I was just talking to him on the phone the other day. He was my mother's best friend. And he said, I remember when I bought you that first tarot deck, and this is like 1998 or something like that. And he said, I remember I had you put the Celtic cross out and stuff like that. And he was like, and I said, look into the picture and give me a message. And so that's the first lesson of letting go, right? And so, and I'm like, no, I need the book. He's like, no, you need it. He said, and then what he told me is eventually, of course, maybe you read the book, but you have to get past that idea of self-doubt. So the answer to your question, the universe is giving us messages all the time. I mean, I know you guys know this. I'll have clients come to me and they'll say, well, I never see any signs. And then like 2 days later, they'll be like, I keep on seeing this 333. Do you know what that is? I thought you said you didn't see signs. And
It's so true.
They're like, oh, I keep on having these raccoons walk across in front of me. I'm like, that's a sign. And they're like, what? It is? Yeah, everything. Movies are signs. Television shows are signs.
I agree. I think everything is a sign. I absolutely do. There's people that disagree with me, but I don't care.
So we're living this life. They're living that life, so that's fine.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what? When you were talking about the signs and everything, I'm not joking. I had, like, you took a picture. Because, in the beginning, when I was saying your introduction, and I could have sworn I wrote it down, and I'm like, what the heck? And literally, it's like, you took a picture. And so I just got on my phone, and this is what I want to talk to, because I'm sorry, it blew my mind. Okay, sound familiar? Wait, hello there. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, I would not have been who I am today. Yes. If I already said that. It was the yesterday, but I took a sign. Did I make sense? Could you guys understand what I just said? Or am I all in my head?
I got what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm just saying people need to read this book. And I can't believe this book came out 10 years ago and I had no idea about it. So we need to get it back out there, because I think today, in today's society, and with how many people are really coming into themselves and stuff, I think this book is a gateway, and I can't wait for your next book, because that's even going to just push them even further out. I'm really excited. I'm very excited. Sorry, I had to change that, but thank you, Spirit. They're like, no, you took a picture of that. So
I like how it changes too for you. I like how you wrote your first book. You were in a place at that time when you wrote that. And now this next book. And as a writer, I know it's not easy to write a book. And so, there's times I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, nobody's home. I can write. Nothing, crickets. Next day, everybody's home and Spirit's like, okay, now's time. And I'm like, are you serious?
You know what the other thing is too, is you'll write things. So that first chapter I actually wrote for another book. I wrote for a friend of mine that she was wanting to do a collaboration book, and that was a chapter in the book. And she never got that project off the ground. And so when I was writing that book, I was like, this chapter makes so much sense in this book. So I put it in there. So for what I write on Google Drive a lot. And so you guys store all that stuff. I mean, I wrote things in like 2005 that I was like, oh, that's really good. Did I actually write that? I don't know if you guys experienced that, because I look at stuff.
I do all the time.
I'm like, did I actually write that? Who wrote this book? Matter of fact, funny story. I wrote all my team's performance evaluations in January. And so but we're fast forward to March and I have to present them. I called my boss and I said, did you change all my performance evaluations? She goes, no. Why would I can't. The system won't allow me. I'm like, I'm telling you, you changed it, because I did not write this.
Oh, no.
And the truth is I did write it, but I was just so in the flow writing it. And I don't know if you guys know this, I'll struggle to write. And then all of a sudden when I'll write like 4,000 words. And
wow.
And then I won't remember. Like, I don't remember most of that book, because I'll go back and read it and I'll learn something from it.
Say it's channeled.
Yeah, I would say it's channeled. I mean, I've been talking about it from my perspective, of course, but also remember a friend of mine told me years ago, I said, I wrote this one book probably in like 2008 and I didn't like it. She goes, put it out anyways. I'm like, well, I just moved beyond this. She goes, but there's somebody out there that needs to see it.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. If I could take the internal dialogue in all of us, the one that's struggling inside and bickering with itself, and then put that. Do you remember a show called What's in Herman's Head? It was a Fox show. And remember when Fox was only on the weekends and the lady.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yes.
So there was a show called What's in Herman's Head, and it was basically all these voices talking in its head, but they were identified as people. If we could get that with people and literally see our brains, like when Joe Vitale, and I love Joe Vitale's work, or John Edwards is up there and we could see what's going on in their brain, I would die laughing. I mean, because I know it's similar to what we have. And so when we get up there and we get raw, and then we actually have this dialogue, because I'll do this dialogue. I'm like, wait, no, that's not true anymore. And I love you, but just get in the back seat with the safety restraint on, because it's gotta be like a little toddler. And that just happened actually recently. Matter of fact, Terry, I think I told you about it. It was the night before I was at my parents' wedding anniversary, and I had to get up and speak. And I'm laughing because I'm like, I could speak in front of 1,000 people, but to get up here talking about my own dang emotions is not the easiest in front of 50 people. Well, I had to be raw about feelings and how I felt. And so, the inner voice was like, I cannot believe you're getting up here and doing this in front of all these people. I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. And you got to play with yourself. And enjoy the dialogue, and it makes it a lot more fun. So
now, have you always been a storyteller, even from when you were little? Have you always, because your speak is very, very fluent. You're very easy to speak with, right? Mine, I call myself a spaz. Like, I'm all over the place. It's just the way I work, but it works for me. But you flow. So has this been since childhood all the way up? Has this been you? No.
No, here's the funny story. I was a very shy kid, and then I was in band. I was a band geek, and then I went into drum corps, and I traveled all over the country, and I was still pretty shy. And then my boss, I was probably about 21 or 22, it came up to me. I was a QA rep, and he said, "Hey, would you like to start teaching this class?" And I'm like, sure. So they recorded me, and I do the train the trainer. And so they recorded me, and I was so nervous. I don't know if you guys remember Jenko jeans, the big baggy ones where you couldn't even see their legs move. Well, I was shaking. I was shaking and terrified and just stuttering all over the place. And that went on for a long time. And then something just clicked in me, and I just loved it. I absolutely love speaking in front of people. I've just gotten better. Because the more you do something, the better you get at it. And my radio podcast helped me the most. And so, but you'll know when I'm not in the flow, because I'll be like, stuttering and stuff like that. And so it became fluid just because of practice. And I stopped worrying about putting PowerPoints up there and being official. Just let it flow. So
that's what you got to do. We've had that a couple of times on her show, and there was one where I wasn't feeling it. I felt so bad for Terri Ann. I was just like, I don't feel it. I'm just so sorry. But we did the show anyhow, because that's the whole thing, right? Keeping it real. We're just being honest, whatever. And when we got that done with that show, I don't know what it was about. I can't tell you how many people reached out and said that show was amazing. You guys were awesome. You hit what I needed to hear today. Thank you so much. And it's just like, isn't that funny? When I thought it was just going downhill, everybody else was saying, oh my gosh, that was just amazing. Thank you so much. And it's just like, wow. It's
always when we doubt, and it's usually the worst. And I started my show in 2011, and I was gonna cancel my show. And then I said, because getting these guests is really hard. It's not easy. And so I said, well, Spirit, you're going to show me if I need to keep on doing it. So then this woman named Terri, and Sarah is, she's our publicist. She came into my life. She goes, I want to start sending you guests. And that woman has changed my life, because she taught me this business. and it's not always easy to navigate. And she became more than a publisher, she became kind of a mentor in a sense. And so there is always something, and I've never wanted for guests because she makes sure I have plenty. And but I mean, it's just one of those things where when you think it's going to be the end or it's the worst, that's when the universe shows you. That's when you're the most raw sometimes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're being who you are. And I think that's just like it showed the example of this week when I'm just like, I'm just done. I just don't want that right now. And then look what happened. It's like, are you kidding me? Okay, you know, but it's just being who you truly are. And I think that is the main focus to this all. And that's going in, finding yourself, and then just doing it with love and being true to other people. Don't try to hype myself up. Don't try to hype ourselves up. Just be who we are and give them what they're needing at this time.
Often we're taught to, you know, have an impression on other people. You have to be a specific way. I mean, I've heard that since I was little. You have to act like this, do this. You're too loud. You talk too much. You know, all those things. And so you grow up with those thoughts that you shouldn't do those things. And this way is the right way and this way is the wrong way. So we have about 5 minutes left, Jeremy. What do you think keeping it real means to you?
I think we were just real for the last, 30 some odd minutes. And the reason being is because we just allowed it to come out. I mean, what if we would just sat here and laughed for 30 minutes and people would be like, what are they doing?
I would have loved it though.
And the truth is that, hey, why not laugh? I mean, there's this thing where I had a client, I'd spoken in Owensboro, Kentucky, and she ended up hanging out with us and stuff like that. She goes, can I paint your nails? I'm like, I guess, yeah, sure. So she ends up painting them blue.
Oh my God.
Fingernails and toenails. And I've never painted my nails before in my life. Well, I ended up speaking in Lexington, Kentucky. And I just decided to stand up on a chair and let all those ladies from Kentucky see my blue nails.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And so then I said, and you could see them whispering and stuff like that. I said, are you guys judging my nails? Because I think they're really cute. And so, but the point is that why not let out for the moment? Because why would I be embarrassed about that? I mean, it's just enjoy yourself. I've always been a goofy person, and so and I like being goofy and laughing. There's times to be serious, of course, and there's times to have compassion, but keeping it real is just being yourself and allowing yourself. I don't generally, very rarely will you see me get in a suit. I wear a sports jacket and a button-down shirt and jeans and stuff like that, and there's these churches that'll be like, we'd really like you to wear a shirt and tie. I'm like, that's not happening. I'll compromise and I'll wear khakis because it's uncomfortable. And so why do that to yourself and to sell yourself? And there's all kinds of theories out there about, oh, you broke all the rules of speaking. I was just real. I was just real and enjoy yourself, because that's what people are looking for. You mentioned everybody's waking up. People are looking for somebody to be real. They feel like they've been lied to over and over again by people. So why not just be real?
They're looking for that connection. Absolutely. More so, I think, now than ever before.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell us where people can find you, Jeremy, if they want to get in touch with you, book a session or buy your book.
So you can find me at stroytellingtalchemist.com. You can buy my book there. There's also an audio file, if you haven't listened to it, Ann and Terri Ann, of me and my teacher speaking. It was meant to be a CD, but we just uploaded it on there. There is a link to where you can book a session with me. And I can't remember what it is. I think if you jump on there and use the code, say yes to you, it'll give you 40% off of a 45-minute session with me. So you have to go to services and use say yes to you as the coupon code, and it's 40% off your 45-minute session. So for all of you that are out there, go find it. And if you don't, just at least join my newsletter, because a lot of cool things are coming up. And you can buy my book there. And so, that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's such, I tell you, it's really hard to get this off the ground. And we feel like we have so much to say, but it's like week after week, it's like, it's just so slow. We don't have the patience.
Oh, easy stuff. Easy stuff. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to message you a couple ideas when we get off here tonight.
All right, but thank you, and thank you
so
for
much.
being real. Your book, I mean, we really need to pump that out. I know you said that was 10 years ago, but from the first page, it was so amazing, and I think there's just an amazing message that needs to come through on that book. Everybody needs to read that book. It's that one book that everybody needs to read. It really is. Yeah.
So we'll add that to
Hero.
our YouTube thing when we put it up later.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So.